y'all? We are out in Akatia Wells, me and Philip. You want to say hi, bud?
Hi.
And we are putting the new SDI components through their paces. And we're kind of at the tail end of our journey. We're on Pole Line Road, left gas dome. And I thought something funny was going on my left front. And,
He broke.
well, we broke the right bottom shock mount off the front axle probably about a half hour ago, and I thought something was wrong in the driver's side, but the driver's side has dampening. The shock mount is off, and you know, it's obviously bumpy, but you know, we're still, I'm going 35 miles an hour here, and the truck is so heavy. It's obviously not controlled that well, but you know, it's still a comfortable ride. We're here, I've got about 25 in the front, 20 in the rear, and we're just gonna get back to the highway, air back up, and limp her home, and we're gonna see, I don't know, do we go on Dodge Truck Extreme, DTX? Do I go to the Carli forum, see, is the Dominator lower, the fix? We'll see what that is, and we'll cover that when we get there, and when I stop, I'll video the shock mount for y'all. All right, let's see if I can get this short. This is the third trip to the desert. I've got my Morphlate compressor. The last time I did one of these videos, I left the damn thing out here in the desert. So we came out today, Philip and I, and we are airing back up. She's kind of noisy, but works great. We're airing all four. We're gonna be back to our street pressure. We were 25 front, 20 rear, then we're going to 40 front, 35 rear. Well, today we boogied. That mount wasn't. This guy has left the chat, which is fine. And now we just gotta get her home and see what we fix. Because we boogied really well. And you know, this stuff is gonna happen. We're gonna break shit. And that's kind of the nature. Once we reinforce that, we'll be back in business. So there it is. We're out here running it, not abusing. We're running her, and she's doing great up until that point. Hey there, y'all. Eric, our functional farmhouse, 15,000 mile Carli update. I got a box. Got a box from SDI. I had messaged them. I've been noticing my display angles again, and I reached out to my contacts, and within one day I had this assembled and shipped. So I've had this for 2 weeks. I've been super swamped. Anyway, we're gonna open it up, we're gonna see what they sent, and we're going to replace the parts that they want replaced, and they're going to diagnose these when I ship whatever back. And I'm hoping this is the last update video on this. It'd be nice to put this to bed. And you know, okay, we've got new OBD2 power harness. We have a new ECU. We have a new collector, and I believe they said we had a new IMU, which is the attitude sensor. So I've got this. I had originally requested this wire because it has that barrel connector, and just looking at this from the outside, it looks like they have created a significant revision to that plug, and I'll do a side-by-side when I get that out. So I'm hoping that they fixed whatever could have been in there, and then out, just they don't want to have any other issues, so we're going to replace all this stuff. So SDI, thank you. This time we're hopefully going to lick it. I know I don't want to keep tearing into the truck. Y'all don't want to keep doing this, but if we fix something in the whole process of this, that is awesome. So well, actually, I'm just going to grab this right now while we're doing this.
All right, y'all, here we've got a side-by-side of the plugs going to the display, and you'll notice the new one they sent is a completely different style, which I am imagining they have made some fixes, which is all, you know, I never started that. I didn't buy this setup. I didn't pay cash for this truck. I didn't buy everything for the suspension to keep doing these, like, you know, I don't want disc track videos. This thing is amazing off-road, and I just need this to be perfect, and it looks like they got it licked. So I'm, you know, we're gonna look forward to it. I'm gonna replace the stuff. This isn't gonna be a how-to. You've already seen that too long. And then we're gonna see what happens. So stay tuned. All right, y'all, here we have the two ECUs. We've got the one they shipped. This is a 1516 serial number. The one I have is a 1238. So the replacement is significantly newer. And they gave me a nice note. It says they tested this, which is cool. And then we see here the production date. The replacement is December 21st, build 23, whereas the one I had was a January 23. So this is almost a year newer, and I don't know if that's a difference. I figured I would just show you guys that they are replacing it, and they've already validated it. All right, y'all, here we have a new collector harness. This is about identical. The only difference is I did open this up in the last video, so I used felt tape to cover those back up, so there's no change there. That looks just as good as it did when I first bought it. Best in class stuff. This is really, really well done. All right, y'all, we have the new IMU attitude sensor. It looks like they, oh no, there's no difference. It's just the orientation of this block. This one's on the bottom, this one's on the top, but we do have updated serial number. This one starts 24. The one I have is 23. This one was already replaced under warranty. That was the initial thought. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. We're gonna pop the new one on and go from there. All right, y'all. Did you save your instructions? Did you save your instructions? So going back, the instructions specify that the bolt hole should be in the top of available holes, and I've got some fresh blue Loctite on that, and we're going to be reinstalling that per the original installation manual. All right, y'all, I moved this inside to put the IMU data harnesses side by side just to see if there's any difference, and what I'm getting is the new harness. These are both the same. I did peel this back and then have to rewrap that. So this is nice and heat shrinked. The only differences I can see are all of the leads are like 2 to 3 inches. Well, the IMU plug's almost a foot longer. Same plug. And then we have the new, way more robust and hardened data connector, which I'm willing to bet that the whole issue is in here. And I mean, you can't feel these, y'all, but this new one just has a heft and a feel to it that this one lacks. And so I'm hoping that they improved the resistor interface from a solid resistor and a multi-strand wire. I'm guessing that is where most of the problem was. And I just wanted to lay this out to show if there were any differences, and they did make some improvements in some of those wire lengths. I don't recall being short, but we're going to get this back out in the truck. I'm going to wrap this one up, get it in their box, and we're going to keep putting her back together. Hey there, y'all. As we saw on the kitchen counter, and my butcher block is 12 feet long, we have longer wiring on this new harness. So I'm going to show you. I loosely bunched this and collected it with a zip tie in here. Now these are not tensioned, but I want them collected so when I put the fender or the kick back in, this is all tucked nice and neat up in there, and it's looped. Everything is attached underneath and we're gonna put her back together and set up the IMU sensor and go for a test drive. All right, y'all, we are back in the truck, and after discussing with SDI, we are going to do something a little unconventional. I'm using a Deutsch connector, and we're going to bypass my splitter and the OBD2 plug. Now, both Clement and I had agreed that tapping into the factory wiring behind the OBD2 plug is not ideal. It's not something we want to do, but if there's a problem with, I'm not going to keep throwing splitters at this thing, and there could be an issue with pins in my OBD2 port. We're going to bypass that, and we're doing a connector because we need to be able to disconnect this if we're doing any programming or anything. There can't be anything else on the bus. So I'm going to tap this in. We're going to disassemble their OBD2 port plug, and we're going to hardwire this in and see if this is the ticket on this one. They're basically said there's nothing wrong. You know, the stuff they sent out is 100% good. So if I'm having an issue, it's a problem with the truck. So we're going to see if that's the thing. I mean, I don't care what it is. I just want it licked, and we'll see if this is that thing. All right, y'all, I told you I'm full transparency, and this yellow wire coming into this plug had a weird kink in it. I'm trying to get it on. There could be a bum strand in that bus line. I don't know. Well, we're gonna bypass all this and see if, again, could that have been something? This had some bogus tracking deal that was installed from the dealer, and maybe that's a thing. We'll know once we get this in and we get some miles on her. All right, y'all, so I'm down here on the OBD2 port, and I'm de-pinning this from the plug so I have more room to work. That way I don't over tension anything, and then we're gonna button it up and tape it back up with the OE felt tape. All right, y'all, I de-pinned this other wire, and you can see there's a hook in this thing somehow. I don't know why that wasn't presenting itself more when we had the plug in. I'm manipulating this pretty good. I'm clamped on each one. I'm not seeing any open per se, but this is a data bus, so there could be something boogered in this little joint, in that little kink. Just again, I told y'all I'd show you what I find, and this is what I'm finding. All right, y'all, we've got a little issue that we've picked up after towing last with one of the new sensors. We were coming out of a hill, driving on an arc, and the display kept going on an arc that the vehicle wasn't. And I was just due for some maintenance on the truck. I needed to do an oil change and some other stuff, and found that 3 of the 4 screws holding the IMU to the hat are gone. And I'm kind of busy. This is another project I'm working on, a N63 engine replacement for my BMW, but we're going to come out to the truck, and it's a mess. I got too many things, but hopefully. So I just slapped the zip tie on this guy, and so I bought this whole pack of screws for $9 on Amazon. So we're gonna hit this with some red Loctite and get this cinched down. And hopefully that is the end of the saga. We'll see. All right, so today's phase is broken lower shock mount. This is the Carli Dominator mount. This is the factory mount that I had tacked back on to get me a couple more miles before I had time. It broke back off. You can see the Carli one's about almost double the width And you know, when I bought these, I was like, oh man, I gotta spend another 200 bucks plus my time. This is a really solid unit, y'all. This thing is really well done. And this one's not gonna come back off. I guess the Fords don't have these, but this AAM axle does. And if you're running it, if you're boogieing, or at least trying to boogie, you're gonna rip these off. So no harm, no foul. We're gonna clean this up, get these on, at least get me on the road. All right, we've got our Miller 625. I'm running it off my Honda generator. I don't have a good 20 amp circuit out here, but this is what we're looking like. You can see where we broke off, and you can see what was left down here. So I'm gonna hit this with my grinder and get this all cleaned up, and then we're gonna weld this side in, get this shock mounted, and then we'll move over. I don't want the axle totally drooped, then we're gonna do this guy next. So this is usually one of those where getting the tools out takes longer than doing the job typically. So we're moving along. All right, we have our welds completely round off. This was a little more time consuming than I had hoped. I'm probably a good half an hour into this because I just can't get my head in there without too much work. But we've got, Carli recommends grooving the axle where the welds are. So we've got these marked off. I'm gonna get the grinder and we're gonna bevel those up, and then next step is going to be getting this guy welded in. All right, y'all, we are at the point where I think I've got the mount welded in. She ain't pretty. I'm not that great of a welder. I'm a hack, but should hold. We're going to get this cooled off, painted, buttoned up this side. We'll move on to the other. Alright, y'all, we have the two Carli Dominator mounts in. I'm going to be wrapping up this side. We got it rattle canned. Going to be taking her on a test drive for that project and hoping to put that to bed. That passenger was the one that broke. Upper shock mount is loose. I need to tighten that. This lower shock mount bolt was loose and the upper's tight. So we're going to get this all torqued in and hopefully be back on deck. Hey y'all, so this segment we are out driving Triple D. I'm just picked up hopefully my last BMW part on that other project, and since bypassing the splitter and the OBD2 port, we are back. Everything seems to be working as it should. I'm having a hard time seeing this through my sunglasses, but hopefully this is coming up here. So it looks like we've nipped that in the bud. I've been driving this for a couple of weeks now, and I have not seen a single instance of one of those really off readings, which is good because going into the suspension dampening, you can see when it was doing that it was really jacking up the dampening where it thought it needed it. So we're looking good on that. I do want to thank SDI, Clement, and Dan at Carli for being patient. This seems to have been a fluke on this particular truck. You know, we saw that wiring, there was a kink. This had aftermarket tracker installed with the OBD2. I removed it. I don't recall when I removed it what the wiring looked like, so, but you know, it was there. It seems like we got it, and we got to install that truss. And this phase of Triple D, we're now going to be 16,000 mile update, and the love affair is back on. This thing, I'm going to admit, I got really frustrated. I had a lot going on and a lot of things that weren't operating correctly, and you know, it's just one of those things
I don't think I ever lost my cool, but I like things to work, and this system is probably one of the best. I had asked Carli about the possibility of a 3.0 e-click, and there's not enough clearance in the shock area on the stock Ram 2500. There could be some fab work done, and this is still mostly a daily driver, and I don't know how deep I would want to get into that. So yeah, we're gonna get that truss in and then see how that goes.